Hey, this is DeagleBeagle. I'm going to be going over the best weakness policy Pokemon. So, Pokemon that are great for weakness policy would be ones that are more offensive than others. Like Amoonguss would not be a good weakness policy Pokemon because it's slow and it probably only has one attacking move like Pollen Puff or Leaf Storm. So I wouldn't normally recommend it with that type of Pokemon. Annihilate, I think weakness policy would be very good and underrated on because if you're trying to kill Annihilate really quickly so it doesn't get up its Rage Fist boost, or just try to kill it in general, who knows? Maybe lots of reasons. Maybe it's a threat to your team because you can't wall a fighting move like a close combat or even a drain punch, or maybe you're trying to kill it before the turns of Trick Room wear off or Tailwind. So whatever the reason is, you probably won't one-shot it. So it probably is good with weakness policy, even though they can Terra. You can Terra defensively instead of that to keep it alive, but you could do either one really. And I think weakness policy Annihilate plus with the Terra Ghost one plus beat up Mousehold is really underexplored, and I was doing really well on ladder with it once I was using it, but I stopped using it because I didn't want to use Mousehold Ape anymore in general. But getting that extra boosted Rage Fist plus the weakness policy did so much more damage, and I could invest more in bulk since instead of attack since I had the weakness policy. So I basically one shot almost anything. Even stuff that resisted it could one shot. Now Arcanine, I don't think I would use weakness policy with it. It might work. It depends. If you weakness policy on bulkier Pokemon tend to have an advantage. So I should even do a slide just to describe that, even though I'll delete it later. Best weakness policy Mons. The Pokemon that are bulky so they can survive the hit. To survive the hit, first of all, Pokemon that are fast. Um, Pokemon that have a lot of weaknesses. Offensive Pokemon, and ones that have a priority move. Like we'll go over Dragonite later. Well, sometimes being slow is actually not bad because you can get the weakness policy hit, but not necessarily. You ideally want a Pokemon that would get hit by the super effective attack and then be as fast as it can be after that, so that you can really use the power to your advantage and outspeed and kill them. That's why I like it best on Pokemon that have a priority move like Dragonite, where it goes after them, but then once you get the boost, you could use extreme speed. And then also Pokemon with multi-scale, or something like that. I guess I'll just put here actually because it's along the same lines as being bulky. Dragonite. I don't think there's another Pokemon that's good that gets multi-scale. Let's see, Dragonite. Oops, multi-scale. Sorry. Nope, Lugia is not allowed, so it's just Dragonite. I was like, how come people aren't using multi-scale with it? Because a lot of people start running Intimidate, and then I think that's when a lot of people realize, hey, multi-scale is better, and that's why I was using San Diego. But I was using that first on a special set, like a Hurricane, Dragonite, and Rain, and I think even Gavin Michaels used that. He used Sharp Beak though. I used like White Herb for not only the attack lowering the extreme speed power, but mostly for the Dracometer. I wanted to just Dracometer without worrying about it. And while they're actually originally I had it on the rain team partly because I wanted to wall their dragon Pokemon and then like hit back with a Dracometer and one shot them. Because I was thinking about alternatives to Salamence because I was getting tired of all the Defiant. Now, anyways, even though I could have used Moxie, going back to this, let's go to the list again. So that would be good. Good. Arcanine. No, not good. Not that good. Well, if it does get activated, it would be pretty good. But the chances of it being activated aren't that likely. And especially in open team sheets where like they know your item, but Pokemon like Dragonite, even with open team sheets, would be good with like multi-scale weakness policy because it's just so bulky with it that they can't really like two-shot you with, or they can't one-shot you with like anything. And if they try to use neutral moves on you, it'll probably be so bulky that it walls us pretty well. So you'll have an advantage pretty much no matter what type of strategy they do. So Armarouge, not probably going to be hit by weakness policy. It's probably not going to have it activate. And if it does, you probably won't get Trick Room up. So I should say Pokemon that don't need to set anything up for their team. I should say Sweepers, it's good with Pokemon that are hard to kill. Yeah, bulky, like Goldango. I'd say it's better in closed team sheet, usually, but it's still good in open team sheets. Now, Dondozo can't probably afford to run weakness policy. It doesn't want to get hit with the super effective attack either, but I skipped some of them. Okay, Azumarill. They might hit you with a super effective attack, but it has good defensive typing, so probably not. And even if it did, you'd probably overall want an item to help keep you alive. It depends on what you're trying to do, but I don't think it's that worth it, even though it has Aqua Jet. And then Baxcalibur, same thing. You probably don't want to get hit with a super effective attack unless you can outspeed them. Like you're setting up Dragon Dance. That's why I liked it with a Dragon Dance plus Extreme Speed Dragonite, so that they super affect you, and then the next turn you're faster. Especially Dragon Dancers, since they raise speed. Okay, and then Dragapult, not really. It's gonna go first before the weakness policy activates, and you're not gonna get the most use out of it. And it's kind of fragile. Okay, Dragonite, definitely good. I'll just say good for all of them instead of saying great for some and good for others. And then Fleshender, no, you want to use Eviolite. Frigg, no, you're more worried about setting up Trick Room and surviving than hitting a little bit harder. Fluttermane, not bulky enough. It gets killed too easily on the physical side. Gallade, it's not bulky enough. Garchomp, for the things that are trying to kill Garchomp, it's not bulky enough. Like, you would be hit by an Ice or Dragon move, probably, if they were trying to super affect you. And you would just die, or almost die, and it wouldn't be worth it. Garganacl, no, you want leftovers. You want to keep it alive. I mean, a weakness policy Salt Cure isn't going to help much. It's not very offensive. Gastrodon, not very offensive. You're more concerned with keeping alive using Storm Drain. Gengar, no, it's not bulky enough. It probably should use Sash. Goldango, it would be a good weakness, good with weakness policy, especially if you had rain support, because it would help keep it alive and you had like max HP with it. And then Glamora, no, it has just a lot of weak. It has, I should say, Mons that don't have 4 times weaknesses. Even though I suppose you could change your Terra typing, but then they might not super affect you because they didn't expect you to Terra type defensively. So I wouldn't recommend it on Glamora as a 4 times weakness to ground, and it in general, even from 2 times moves, it might die. It's not that bulky. Great Tusk, you don't even really need a weakness policy because it's so offensive that you probably don't even want it, and it's not bulky enough unless you get rid of its weaknesses usually anyways versus special attacks. Pokemon that are so offensive that they don't need it, but that's pretty rare, like Great Tusk. It might be one of those Pokemon where the benefits like don't outweigh the cons. And then Grimmsnarl, no, it's more concerned with setting up stuff and surviving like screens. And Gyarados, it's not weak to a lot, so I wouldn't do Gyarados. And then Hatterene, it doesn't have a lot of weaknesses. It's just mostly trying to either set up Trick Room or get hits off, and you want, like, in hard Trick Room is where it's best at. You want hard offense, and they're not guaranteed to super affect you, so it's not as consistent. And if they super affect you, you might die because there's a lot of moves that hit it hard on the physical side, and it can't really wall Iron Heads or Shadow Claws or whatever that well. Iron Bundle, it's too fragile on the... I think it has low special defense, but it has decently high defense. Yeah, see? It has low special defense and low HP. Okay, so no, it's not bulky enough. And then Iron Hands. It does have 3 weaknesses, but that's not a lot. And you want that primarily, since it's so slow, you want to probably help keep it alive. I think Assault Vest, everyone's running Assault Vest because it's probably the best item on it overall. I don't think I would run weakness policy, personally. But it is a bulky Pokemon. You would probably want to use a defensive Terra instead to just keep hitting hard through the attacks, but maybe. Iron Jugulus, not really. You would probably want to run like Booster Energy with it. It doesn't have a ton of weaknesses, but I suppose you could run it. Iron Moth. It has a 4 times weakness to ground, so I don't think I would run it personally, and it's not that bulky. There's not a lot of Pokemon that can run weakness policy because it has to be it has to meet a lot of these things, like not all 10 of these things, but most of those things to even be useful. So next slide. Indeedee, it's not that offensive. It's more concerned with supporting its ally, King Ambit. It has a 4 times weakness to fighting, so I probably wouldn't use it. But I suppose I could see it. It could get Will-O-Wisp too and stuff. Yeah, I should say it's better on Pokemon that are special so that they don't get Will-O-Wisp, but I don't think you really need to have a special Pokemon for weakness policy. Like Dragonite does fine because Will-O-Wisp is one of the only counters and it could miss. Okay. Like Canrock, no, it's too fragile. Probably should use Sash. Mousehold should not run weakness policy because it's a support Pokemon. Metacam, probably not either. It's not that bulky. You might want Sash with it. Same with Meowscarada, not bulky enough. Mimikyu actually could be good with weakness policy because even though they might just break the disguise with a neutral move, but I don't know. It at least forces them to use a neutral move which may not break the disguise. I would say it's maybe not good actually because they can break the disguise usually with a neutral move, but it's okay with, I could see with Mimikyu, like they use a super effective move like Make It Rain, and you kind of could force them to kind of not use Make It Rain, or if you do then you get the double boost. So maybe I'll just say good on it. Murkrow, no, it wants like Eviolite or Sash to set up stuff. Pelipper's mostly concerned with setting up Tailwind, and if it does get super effective, it has a it could be from its 4 times weakness, so I'd say probably not. Pincursion only has 1 weakness, so probably not. And they could just hit it with neutral moves. Roaring Moon, it's not that bulky. Roaring Moon, you don't really want to, I don't know, actually, if you can survive the hit, but it's 4 times weak to Fairy. But if it's not a Fairy move, then I could see it being good. But then, if you're trying to use Acrobatics, though, you would want Booster Energy. So it depends on what you're trying to do, but I probably wouldn't use it with Roaring Moon. Not Sableye either, it's trying to set up whatever screens or Encore disable stuff. Salamence has a 4 times weakness to ice. If it could wall a dragon move or a rock move, maybe. Maybe. Let me think. So this is kind of for Series 1 and Series 2, by the way. There is a lot of Icy Wind going around. If it could survive a hit, I think it could be good. I mean, I personally probably wouldn't use it, but with Intimidate and its typing, it's probably more likely to get super affected by a move than a lot of other Pokemon. Because Fairy is somewhat common from like Dazzling Gleam, Flutter Mane, or Icy Wind. But then, actually their Iron Bundle could just freeze dry it. But you probably wouldn't want to use it versus that. I don't know. I mean, it could survive Ice Punch. There's a decent amount of moves that are unstabbed. Maybe it could work. Sandy Shocks, it isn't weak to that much. And the things that do kill it might one-shot it like a ground move. I would say not. You probably want Expert Belt or Scarf or something. Sylveon, you might not want to take a hit. Like, it might not even be worth taking a hit just to get the weakness policy boost, maybe, but you might be going up against like King Ambit or something, so maybe not. Rotom Wash, it only has what, 1 weakness? Yeah, so I don't think I would use it that. Talonflame, not bulky enough. Tetsugiri, it's not that bulky. Tauros Fire, I don't know, maybe. If you can survive a hit with Intimidate, I'd say Intimidate makes it bulkier so you can survive a hit. It's good with Assault Vest Pokemon. Or actually, no, you can't. Never mind. You can't use both assault vest and weakness policy. It's kind of weak on the special side, though. I don't know about Tauros fire, maybe, but if you want more power, I would probably use choice band. Tauros water. I don't think so. It's not. The things that one shot are probably the things that super affected are probably gonna one shot it. It could wall some of those, but yeah. Torkoal, no, you don't want to get hit with an attack. You usually want an eruption before that. Tar, it would be good with, because it does have a 4 times weakness, but you usually, I guess I should say for King Ambit too, you can always use like a Terra or those other 4 times weak Pokemon. You can use a Terra, but then it's like it doesn't make it. I don't know. Like Tar is weak to a lot more than King Ambit is, so it's not a fair comparison. Like Tar, even ignoring the fighting move, probably one-shotting it because it has a 4 times weakness. You have a lot of other weaknesses that they probably can't one-shot you unless they use a fighting move. So and it has a ton of weaknesses. So it would be good for weakness policy. Some of these I'm not going to really get into yet. Hydreigon, it's weak to a lot. If you can survive the move, then I guess it would be good for weakness policy. But the moves that super effective are usually high powered, like close combat or like a Garchomp. So I don't know. Okay, so let's just go over it again. I think the best weakness policy users are Annihilate, Dragonite, Goldango, Mimikyu, Salamence, and Tar. So thanks for watching.